Hi, everyone. So it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today,
Thanks.
Marty Ferrero. Many of you will recognize him as Donald Gennaro, the ill-fated lawyer from Jurassic Park, a performance that left a lasting impression and became one of the most iconic moments in movie history. In addition to Jurassic Park, Marty has appeared in a wide range of films and television shows, including Get Shorty, Heat, Rush Hour, The Practice, Nash Bridges, Profiler, just to name a few. Marty, we're so happy to have you here with us today. Your experience and insight mean so much to this group, and we're truly honored to learn from you. First question, Marty. How did you get started in show business?
I think I got started by going to the movies all the time. And at the San Jose State Library, up in the stacks, they have old copies of Newsweek, Time, The New Yorker. I would go up there and read reviews of movies. You would read reviews on these films and you go, oh, that's why that movie clicked with me. That moment, that I remember that moment. And they just pointed it out again. Also, films I didn't like. And sometimes they would notice the same thing I did. This didn't work for me. This didn't reach me. They tried for this and it didn't work. And I would say the same, I go, you know what? That moment didn't work for me too. And that's what turned me off of this movie. So I think that really helped me articulate what I was watching and what I was seeing about film.
What are your favorite movies of all time?
Oh yeah. I think Godfather 1 and 2, Chinatown. I go way back to the 50s and the 60s, have been a movie fan for a long time. Go back to Casablanca, On the Waterfront, the films of Howard Hawks, um, any film by Martin Scorsese, or Tarantino. I've been a fan for a long time. That's why I got into the business in the first place, because I used to go to movies all the time. And I think the first film that affected me was To Kill a Mockingbird, The Great Escape. It was another adventure film that got me very excited about movies. I'm a big movie fan, but I had to start on the stage. I was lucky to work for professors who knew the works of Brecht and Bertolt Brecht and Samuel Beckett, Harold Pinter, Shakespeare.
Is there anything else that got you interested in becoming an actor?
I think when I went to school, drama was my secondary, and social science, I was going to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be a teacher. That was going to be my major. And I went 3 days to graduate school and I quit. And my counselor goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because I want to be an actor." And I had denied it for so long, but sometimes you have to take a chance in life, I think. And it's what you and your students are doing is you're taking a chance working in a field like this. I was going to be a teacher, then I decided, no, I'm going to be an actor, but I didn't have the courage or the financial means to go to LA or New York. And I stayed in San Jose, which is where I was born. And I was lucky to work for some teachers in San Jose, some teachers at San Jose City College that allowed me to come in and perform during the summer as a guest artist. And that's where I learned an awful lot about acting until a professional acting company opened in Los Gatos, California Actors Theater. It was in the mid 70s. I auditioned for that, got into that, and became an equity actor, and then got kicked out. The new artistic director was bringing in his people from New York, and they were all going to get season contracts. And so I had to leave. That forced me to go to Los Angeles. but that was the best thing that could have happened because I got some really good teachers in LA. Learned improv from Harvey Lembeck, learned acting from Gordon Hunt. Do you know who Helen Hunt is? The actress, Helen Hunt? Her father, Helen Hunt was in Twister. Her father, Gordon Hunt, is a teacher.
What was it like to work with the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park?
I did want to mention one thing about the dinosaurs is you saw all of that work, all that work was in a large contained set. It wasn't outdoors. So the water was artificially raining all the time. And after a take, you would have to dry off the dinosaur completely. Because if the dinosaur was wet, next time it moved, it'd do these little shaky moves because it was wet. So they had to completely dry off the dinosaur. So that was time consuming, but you know, it had to be done and look how it came out. Just the work was by those masters. They really did some incredible stuff with those dinosaurs. It was an honor to be on the stage with those dinosaurs. Yeah.
I gotta ask, how many takes did that famous scene take?
Well, it came down and it was cut. It never got me. That's animatronics.
Do you like to be a stuntman on film, or have you been a stuntman on a film in the past?
No, that's a special breed of person. And those people are incredibly brave and very technical. You can't make a mistake as a stuntman because there's death involved if you don't know what you're doing. I wouldn't want to do their work. I'm unsteady enough as it is, just being a human being. But those people are those people are athletic. They're at the top of their game, and they have to be because lives are at stake.
What can you tell us about your character from Jurassic Park?
But Stephen had seen me in a pilot for a TV series called Shannon's Deal, where I played a kind of a fast-talking lawyer. And I just made up my dialogue. They allowed me to do it. I made up my dialogue and threw in a lot of references to Joseph Tura from To Be or Not to Be, Jack Benny's character, and threw a lot of references in. And Stephen said, that's what I want for Gennaro. I want him as a wise ass. That's the kind of, and I went, okay, I can do that. Sure.
How long did it take you to rehearse your lines for the film?
Um, it's really hard for me to learn my lines. It's a technical thing that you really have to work at it. And my first day on the set of Jurassic Park, I didn't have my lines down and I messed up a number of takes. And I vowed never to do that again, to ever come to the set not prepared and have your lines.
Do you have any interest in working with Spielberg again?
Of course, yeah. Stephen and I got along really well together because we're both around the same age and we're both from Northern California with the same passion for going to the movies that I had. So when I met him, we ended up just talking about movies. And it was fun conversing and trading ideas. Like we talked about Chinatown. Talking to Stephen about that, we had a common feeling about film, and that's always fun to talk about. So Stephen said, if you have anything to say, write it out. So I did during the last week to argue about the safety of the park. And I wrote it out and I gave it to Stephen. And he read it and he said, you wrote this? And I said, yeah. And he said, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll shoot this if we have time right before lunch tomorrow, if we have time, we'll shoot it. I went, okay. And so the next day, right before lunch, he told the cast, he goes, look, we're going to let Marty go off the page here. And everybody looked at me like, well, it's about time. You're always putting stuff into Steven and he's always telling you you're jumping the plot. So I guess he liked this. So I said, okay. So we did it, and we did it one take where I got into an argument basically saying that our job was to talk about the safety of the park, to say if it was the safety of the park, that's our job. To say that animals can begin to act in an unpredictable fashion has nothing to do with the job of why we were there. So do your job. And Stephen told me later, he said, that made the first cut in editing. I don't know if he said that just to make me feel good, but he said, that stuff that you did, we made the first cut in editing, it stayed in. But then when he told me we had to cut it because it was really a scene between Jeff and Richard Attenborough, and we had to keep the scene between them. So having you come in with that takes us away of where the focus needs to be. And Stephen always had an explanation. He didn't just do things and say, well, deal with it. He explained to you, and so that you understood.
What was your reaction when you first saw yourself getting eaten by a T-Rex on screen?
We got to see that at a preview. It was just us. It was like Laura Dern and Sam Neill, Jeff, me. And we were sitting in the small little theater watching it. And they said, Stephen had just finished putting it together and he wanted to let us see it. When that scene happened, it was so amazing that everybody turned around and looked at me and just kind of nodded like, okay, that worked out really well, didn't it? That looks incredible. So,
That's awesome. I must have seen that scene hundreds of times, Marty. Um,
yeah,
I think you won an award for it too, right? From the
I
Kimmel
did. I got it right here.
show. Look at that. What was the title for the award again? They're all classic.
It
I'm
was a
sure.
Jimmy Kimmel. I went on the Jimmy Kimmel show and they gave this award to me for, I'm not sure what this is,
It
but
looks like a toilet
yeah,
and T-Rex right
and a
there.
T-Rex, yeah.
What movies were you in besides Jurassic Park that you can remember?
Um, well, I did originally Hill Street Blues. When I did Hill Street Blues, I played a character that was a little crazy, and he thought he was the Cisco Kid, and had some good scenes in that where I really was able to take my time. Uh, and it ended up being really good. And I was able to get other work. I was able to get an audition for Miami Vice.
Do you have any memories from the movie Stop or My Mom Will Shoot?
Um, yes, I had to do some karate, which I didn't do very well. So instead of me dying that way, they threw me out of a window. So uh, it was fun. It was fun working with Stallone again because we had done a movie together called Oscar.
Can you tell us about a time you were auditioning for a role and you had to change your attitude during the audition?
Usually, you when you read through, if there's a mild interest in you, you'll be asked to read it again. And the adjustment they'll ask you to make. And you'll welcome that because that means they specifically want to see something from you that wasn't in there the first time. You can go ahead and change it yourself, but it would be better to hear it from them. If you can get through the first one and then they want you to read it again, but I like you to, with a little more urgency or with a little more, we need a little more of this. That's gonna help you with the next, where you have to go with the next one. If you're only going to get to read it one time, you're probably not going to get the part unless you sell it, unless you really sold them and they want to work with you.
As a voice actor, did you enjoy being on The Incredible Shrinking Woman or Air Bud?
Voiceover work is difficult to do. It's really precise. Sometimes you have to come in and do it. They say, well, we didn't get your voice here, so we need it. But it has to come out of a natural thing. You can't, we got to hear something, that blends in with the scene. And it's hard. It's very difficult. Do it again, do it again, do it again until you get it right. That's part of the business. The technical, it is say your lines and don't bump into the furniture.
Are you in any upcoming movies?
No, as it is, talk about me personally. My wife passed away about 9 years ago, cancer. Uh, I'm raising our adult son. He's 40 years old. He has autism. So I'm working with him pretty much 24/7. So that's where my main focus is. I love film. I love to watch it. I love sports. I love politics. And so I don't have to go back to acting. As much as I enjoyed it, I don't have to go back and do it. And I think right now, when you see work, really good work, you say, those actors, they have to act right now. That's important to them. They're good. They're really good. I leave the stage to them. Yeah.
Last question. What is your advice, Marty, to people with disabilities who are interested in acting?
The best thing to do is to go through their teachers to find out maybe which agencies are famous for handling clients who have special needs. There has to be agencies wherever you want to go. If you want to go down to Los Angeles, find out which agencies specialize in working with special needs actors. Those are the people that you can hook up with, and then they can make a true assessment of you on whether they'd like to bring you on as a client. What you have to remind the students is don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Because if you really love it, if you really love the work, you'll find a way to do it. Okay, so that's the most important thing. I can leave you with this last thought here for your students. When I got to Los Angeles and I was trying to find acting classes, I went and met Gordon Hunt at an audition for a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, which I wasn't right for, and I had no chance of getting. But I asked him, I said, I read your book on acting, auditioning, and I hear that you have an acting class in Studio City that's always full. I wonder if I could come and possibly audit the class and get on a waiting list. And he said, yeah, you can come to the class, you get on a waiting list, and you can audit the class. But understand, you can't participate in the class because you're not in it. And I said, no, I understand. So I went to that first class and I saw a scene and I saw him talk to the actors afterwards. And then he turned to the class and he said, when was the last time you took a chance? And I raised my hand. And he said, wait a minute, you're not in this class. And I said, I know, I thought I'd take a chance. And started to sit down and he went, what did you feel like? I said, I was scared to death. I didn't want to get kicked out of a class before I had a chance to get in. And he told me, thank you. I was in the class the next week. So my word of advice, take a chance. Don't be afraid. You can be afraid, but take a chance. So I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Marty.